This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Monday, June 17th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Biden and former President Trump make stops on the campaign trail over the weekend. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A shooting at a splash pad in Rochester Hills, Michigan, left 2 victims critically injured.
I started to cry.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
An arrest made in the killing of a mother of 5 last summer on a Maryland hiking trail.
2 DNA matches.
I'm Clayton Neville.
A Maryland marijuana pardon of massive proportions and an attempt to ban bump stocks may get bumped from a senator's plans.
On Wall Street, the NASDAQ starts this new week of trading at a record high this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A Southwest flight comes dangerously close to crashing into the ocean. I'm Pamela Furr.
And a daring rescue in Oregon. All ahead on America in the Morning. On the campaign trail, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. Biden rubbing elbows with Hollywood's elite, Trump courting African-American voters in Detroit. Following the campaigns, our John Stolnis.
Donald Trump began his day Saturday at a panel discussion at an African-American church in Detroit, in which an area pastor praised him for visiting the city.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you.
The visit came as polling shows Trump making inroads on earning a larger share of the African-American vote in America, a group Biden dominated 4 years ago. Democrats note the vast majority of those in attendance at the church were white supporters invited on behalf of the Michigan Conservative Coalition. Later that night, Trump received a rousing ovation at a speech in the city.
Michigan was better off with Trump by a lot. You were doing great. Companies were moving back and the car companies weren't moving out, and you weren't under a mandate to build all electric cars, which are going to all be made in China. It's just a question of a few years.
Meanwhile, President Biden spent the weekend in Los Angeles at a fundraiser hosted by actors George Clooney and Julia Roberts, with former President Barack Obama on stage as well. In a discussion moderated by late-night host Jimmy Kimmel, Biden was asked about recent decisions by the conservative-leaning Supreme Court, a court in which 3 justices were appointed by Trump.
What can we do about this?
Elect me. Again, I'll tell you why. No, I'm not just saying. The next president is likely to have 2 new Supreme Court nominees. 2 more. He's already appointed 2 that have been very negative in terms of the rights of individuals. The idea that if he's reelected, he's going to appoint 2 more flying flags upside down is really, I really mean it.
Could this be the scariest part of all of it?
Well, I think it is one of the scariest parts of it.
The Biden campaign said it raised $30 million for the president, the most for a single Democratic fundraiser ever. Republican critics, however, are pointing to a clip online at the end of the event where they say Biden froze on stage as he was receiving applause from those in attendance, with former President Obama gently taking his arm and leading him off stage. John Stolnis, Washington.
A parent's worst nightmare. On a hot summer day, a gunman walks into a Michigan town park, which became the scene of terror when the man suddenly and deliberately opened fire. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
The individual pulled up, exited a vehicle, approached the splash pad, opened fire, reloaded, opened fire, reloaded, left. Appears very random at this point, appears random, no connectivity to the victims.
It happened at a splash park in Rochester Hills, Michigan. Families with children out playing and cooling down in the fountains when a gunman walked up and just started shooting.
An 8-year-old boy who has a gunshot wound to the head.
Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard on WXYZ TV.
A 4-year-old with a boy with a wound to the thigh.
A mother with her 2 children among the 9 struck.
39-year-old woman with wounds to the abdomen and leg.
He says in the chaos, people were falling down, getting hit, and trying to run.
When I got on scene, I started to cry because I know what a splash pad is supposed to be.
The mayor of Rochester Hills, Brian Barrett.
It's supposed to be a place where people gather, where families make memories, where people have fun and enjoy a Saturday afternoon, and it wasn't.
Police say they tracked the gunman to his home where he was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
He is a white male, 42 years old, believed to have lived with his mom. She was not home. She has been notified. It's our understanding that apparently he was undergoing some mental health challenges, but known that we're aware of was notified.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Mother of 5 killed, man now charged. We'll have that and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Thanks for listening. You're with America in the Morning. On where we might see severe weather today, let's check in with AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A cold front through the Dakotas into Minnesota will produce some strong to severe thunderstorms later this afternoon and continuing into tonight. These storms will start in the eastern parts of North Dakota and South Dakota and western Minnesota this afternoon and then continue into Wisconsin tonight. These storms will have the potential for flash flooding, damaging winds, and hail. And this same overall system will produce rain and showers through the northern Rockies. It will be much cooler as well, with highs in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some higher elevations could even see some wet snow. A few scattered showers will also develop farther west in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, as well as into northern Wyoming. But the rest of the west will remain dry under plenty of sunshine. Meanwhile, farther east, we are looking at building heat today and through much of the week. Today, this will impact the areas from the Central Plains into the Midwest and the Middle Atlantic and Northeast. Most of these locations will see temperatures climb well into the 90s, and taking into account other factors in the atmosphere, the AccuWeather real field temperatures will soar even higher, surpassing 100 in a few spots. For those doing outdoor work during this time, it will be prudent to take more breaks and to stay hydrated. This heat will also spread southward through much of Texas and continue into the southwest, where 90s and 100s will be common, with some places over 110. In eastern Texas, however, moisture moving northward from the Gulf of Mexico will lead to some clouds as well as some showers and thunderstorms. This will keep temperatures mostly in the 80s through Louisiana into Mississippi and northward to southern Missouri and southern Illinois. Some of the rain could be heavy enough for local flash flooding. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A man believed to be in the country illegally is charged in the murder of a mother of 5 who was killed while walking on a Maryland hiking trail last summer. Update from Correspondent Clayton Neville.
Rachel Morin was found dead in early August of last year after her boyfriend reported her missing when she didn't return home from a hike. Over the weekend, 10 months after the 37-year-old's killing, the Harford County, Maryland Sheriff's Office announced the arrest of Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's said to have entered the U.S. illegally after leaving El Salvador, where the FBI says he's wanted for murder. It was DNA evidence that led police to the alleged killer. DNA recovered at the crime scene was linked to a 2023 home invasion in L.A. where a 9-year-old girl was sexually assaulted.
The fact that you had 2 DNA matches was very comforting to me as an former investigator, knowing that it may take time.
Former FBI investigator Scott Duffy spoke with Fox News about the case.
You have 2 routes. First and foremost, a predator like this, a sexual assault just several months prior to this brutal homicide, and law enforcement was keeping it close to the vest, that this was also a sexual assault, a rape.
Investigators crediting the work of multiple agencies and persistency in getting the evidence that ultimately led to the suspect. I'm Clayton Neville.
Maryland's Governor Wes Moore is expected to announce today that he'll issue a mass pardon of more than 175,000 marijuana convictions. The pardons will be given to people that Moore describes as having low-level marijuana possession charges, offenses that have led to many being denied housing, employment, and education long after they served their sentences. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announces he plans to bring up a vote this week on restoring a ban on bump stocks after the Supreme Court invalidated a federal rule that outlawed the device last week. At a news conference, Schumer called the justices a mega court and pleaded with Congress to pass the ban he calls common sense. The New York senator's plan may not gain any traction, as he'll ask for a unanimous consent vote in the Senate, a vote that could be blocked in opposition by just a single member. New highs on Wall Street, the latest troubles for Boeing. Those stories are next when America in the Morning continues after these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Find out how markets will open after the weekend. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning for a holiday-shortened week after a mixed week for the major averages last week. The market will be closed on Wednesday for Juneteenth. The S&P 500 index opens this morning just 2 points away from a record high, and the NASDAQ does open at a new record high this morning. But there is some concern that only 4 or 5 stocks are kind of holding up the major indexes right now.
It's the only conversation anyone's having about this market. You have this real kind of fixation on one part of the market and not others. Most stocks aren't working. You'd expect to be at all-time highs and have people be really giddy, and they're not.
CNBC's Mike Santoli. And here's a take on that concern that just a handful of names are popping while others are dropping.
These giants are doing yeoman's work.
This can't continue. You can't have 3 stocks be the whole market for a stock. It just doesn't work. You have to be worried that the whole market's just 5 stocks.
CNBC Mad Money host Jim Cramer with CNBC's Carl Quintanilla. On Friday, it was Adobe that did some of the heavy lifting. Its shares were up 14%. Boeing with some new worries.
People continue to say, where is the bottom here? The latest is that you have got the investigation into why some counterfeit titanium made it into Boeing planes, Airbus planes, at Spirit Aerosystems, their main supplier. That's just one of those headlines people look at and say, what next? Boeing CEO is on Capitol Hill. He'll be testifying on Tuesday.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Warner Brothers Discovery hoping for lots of signups even today for the Max streaming service. Season 2 of Game of Thrones, the prequel series House of the Dragon, premiered last night. It's one people have been waiting for.
What are fast food restaurants trying to get consumers to think?
You know, they're trying to get people to think of them as cheap again. After that, one McDonald's out of thousands charged $18 for a Big Mac meal, and that went viral on social media. Perception's a big deal in fast food. They don't want you to think they're expensive and not a good value anymore.
On TikTok, some consumers have made complaints about the serving sizes at Chipotle. CEO Brian Niccol recently telling our Jim Cramer that the company has not changed its serving sizes. And when it comes to value, Chipotle's perception is actually holding up, according to new data from TD Cowen's Andrew Charles, who wrote, Chipotle's value perceptions are outperforming the fast casual peer group at a widening clip. And then at McDonald's, value perception is now slightly trailing its peer average at Taco Bell, Burger King, Wendy's, and others. The value perceptions for both McDonald's and Chipotle are close to one another, Chipotle ranking a little higher.
CNBC's Kate Rogers. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from home builder Lennar. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell set to take the stand today in the Sunday ticket package trial. The league is accused of inflating prices by restricting competition.
There's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return, airline scare in Hawaii, amusement park panic in Oregon. America in the Morning, back after these messages. America in the Morning rolls on. A Southwest Airlines flight came dangerously close to crashing into the ocean off the coast of Hawaii. Correspondent Pamela Furr reports.
Bloomberg first reporting Southwest Flight 2786 came within 400 feet of hitting the Pacific Ocean back in April. The incident happened during poor weather conditions when the plane was trying to land on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. Reports are the first officer inadvertently pushed down on the control column and cut the speed. That's what caused the plane to go downward from roughly 1,000 feet to 400 feet within a matter of a few seconds. The pilots then aggressively climbed, narrowly missed the Pacific Ocean, and then diverted the flight back to Honolulu. The good news is no one was hurt. Southwest released a statement saying nothing is more important than safety, and the event was addressed appropriately. The FAA is investigating. I'm Pamela Furr.
Scary scene at an amusement park where multiple people were rescued after being trapped on a ride in Oregon. Lisa Dwyer reports some had to be pulled to safety while hanging upside down.
Emergency crews have rescued 30 people after they were stuck for about half an hour dangling upside down high up on a ride at a century-old amusement park in Oregon. Portland Fire and Rescue say firefighters worked with engineers at Oaks Park to manually lower the ride. Video shot by a passenger on a neighboring Ferris wheel shows people suspended upside down on the Atmosphere ride, which operates like a pendulum. No injuries were reported. Oaks Park first opened in 1905. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Monday, June 17th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Our senior producer is Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The potential for heat, hurricanes, and snow. I'm Clayton Neville.
A wildfire burning about 60 miles from Los Angeles has more than doubled in size. I'm Julie Walker.
Concerns have surfaced in Canada over the future of hockey.
The sport is evolving.
I'm Mike Hempen.
2 people were killed in Round Rock, Texas, when shots rang out in a city park. I'm Jackie Quinn.
80 countries have jointly agreed that the territorial integrity of Ukraine must be the basis for any peace agreement. I'm Karen Shamas.
The slow year for movie ticket sales had a major turnaround this weekend with the release of Inside Out 2. I'm Archie Zaraletta with the latest.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. This is America in the Morning. If you like those summer-like temperatures, get ready. A good portion of the country will feel the heat this week. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
One of the big weather stories for the coming week will be the heat we are expecting through a good portion of the eastern half of the United States. This could even continue into the weekend for many areas. That will get underway today for many locations through the Central Plains into the Midwest and parts of the Middle Atlantic and Northeast. Most of these places will see temperatures climb well into the 90s, and taking into account other atmospheric conditions, the AccuWeather real field temperatures will soar even higher, even surpassing 100 degrees. This heat will spread southward through Texas and continue into the southwest, where 90s and 100s will be common, with some places over 110. In eastern Texas, however, the moisture moving northward from the Gulf of Mexico will lead to more clouds, as well as some showers and thunderstorms. This will keep temperatures mostly in the 80s through Louisiana into Mississippi and northward to southern Missouri and southern Illinois. Some of the rain could be heavy enough for local flash flooding. Farther north along a cold front in the Dakotas into Minnesota, some strong to severe thunderstorms will get underway with flash flooding, damaging winds, and hail. That will continue northeastward into Wisconsin tonight. This same overall system will produce rain and showers through the northern Rockies, and it'll be cooler with highs in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Some higher elevations could even see some wet snow. A few scattered showers will also develop farther west in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, as well as northern Wyoming. That's the weather across America. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania will be feeling some heat today with plenty of sunshine and a high of 93. Glasgow, Montana will have a cooler day with clouds and rain in the afternoon and a high of 61. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Yes, the heat is on as we prepare for 7 days of weather that includes nearly all the possibilities, while oppressive heat is the focus for as many as 135 million Americans. The potential also exists for hurricanes in the Gulf and Atlantic and even snow in mid-June. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
For much of us, the heat is on, and we're chugging that water.
Yeah, like 58 gallons.
And remembering the keys to stay safe from the sun.
Have sunscreen on.
Temperatures quickly warming up across the United States with the first official day of summer on Thursday.
When I've been outside, it felt like I kind of was like passing out because it was like so hot.
The Northeast expected to be especially warm this week, with temperatures in Pittsburgh flirting with a record predicted to be close to 100 degrees. And Timpson, New York and Washington, D.C. forecasted in the 90s. An excessive heat watch impacting parts of Ohio, Chicago, even Wisconsin and Michigan impacted. And south into Texas and surrounding states, it'll feel well over 100.
Coming out to my car at 8 in the morning, sweating already. It certainly, so I don't know if anyone gets used to that.
Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia says his city focuses especially hard on reducing crime in the summer, a time when warmer temperatures and more free time can lead to more crime.
There are activities that stay later. Oftentimes, alcohol's involved. And when you have those type of events during the summer, I mean, that's naturally, obviously, kids are out of school, so we got to make sure that they're doing positive things.
The heat not the only concern this week in America. Hurricane season is upon us, and there are 2 tropical disturbances in the Gulf. Parts of Miami and Fort Lauderdale were dumped on with heavy rain, and more of that in the forecast this week. Meanwhile, in the Rockies, a late-season snow expected early this week. I'm Clayton Neville.
Weather remains an important factor in California, where correspondent Julie Walker reports on a rapidly spreading wildfire north of Los Angeles that forced over 1,000 evacuations, burned more than 12,000 acres, and caused air quality concerns.
A wildfire burning about 60 miles from Los Angeles in Gorman by the Interstate 5 freeway has more than doubled in size since it began Saturday afternoon. CAL FIRE officials say by late Sunday morning, the post fire had consumed more than 12,000 acres, scorched 2 commercial buildings, and forced at least 1,200 to evacuate from Hungry Valley Recreation Area.
It has doubled in size. We had very strong gusts and winds. Some of the gusts, ridgetops, were reaching over 50 miles an hour from the reports of firefighters and the National Weather Service last night. So that the wind out of the north pushed the fire south towards Lake Pyramid. So it was initially, started up in Gorman.
Kenichi Haskett with LA County Fire says gusty winds have been causing issues.
It makes it challenging, basically, for water drops. As you can imagine, helicopters or airplanes trying to drop fire retardant or water on a fire, and when it's windy, it pushes it just sprays the water everywhere else, or that we don't need it. So that's been a challenge, putting, water on the ground from our aircraft. And then additionally makes it spotting. What we call spotting is when you get those ambers that can reach up to a mile away from where it originally started.
Officials say by late Sunday morning, fire lines were built around 2% of the perimeter. I'm Julie Walker.
Also, problems in Sacramento County for what's being called the Excelsior Fire, which grew to more than 900 acres by yesterday afternoon and is now threatening homes in an area in the country that's home to the state capitol. Another California wildfire, this one south of Chico, called the June's Fire, has scorched more than 1,000 acres. Baseball may be America's favorite pastime and football popular to watch, but in Canada, the answer to both would be hockey. However, as correspondent Mike Hempen reports, the favorite sport of Canadians seems to be in a solid decline.
Few things are more closely associated with Canada than hockey. Canada has nourished hockey into the popular, vibrant sport that is growing elsewhere, including in the United States. But an alarming trend has developed. Participation in youth hockey in Canada dropped 35% between 2009 and 2022. The CEO of hockey equipment manufacturer Bauer is Ed Canali, who says he's concerned but not panicked.
I do believe that the sport is evolving. I do think the right people, the National Hockey League, USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, private corporations are all starting to have the honest dialogue with each other, which is, A, we have to stop talking about what's wrong, and B, we have to start investing in change for the sake of the sport.
Amit Quatra has a 10-year-old son playing hockey in suburban Toronto. He says the increasing expense of the sport is a major consideration for many families.
Getting someone into hockey, it's not simple as getting someone into soccer where you just need a soccer ball and go in. Hockey requires, as you can see, the amount of gear that's required in order to kind of get the game started is a lot. And I think that is the biggest barrier for a lot of people to actually initiate their kids into hockey.
Hockey Canada reports more than 360,000 youths under age 18 were playing in 2023. That's an increase from the year before, but still below pre-pandemic levels. University of Toronto professor Simon Darnell, an expert in sports culture and sociology, says the cost of ice time and other expenses and the time commitment of a nearly year-round schedule are keeping some Canadian kids out of hockey.
If you don't want to participate in hockey on those terms, then there isn't as much space for you, I think, as there should be. So, I think that model is still there. It's just, if you don't want to play by those rules, then there isn't space for you, and then you go and play a different sport.
According to the Canadian Youth Sports Report, released last summer by Solutions Research Group, soccer is now the top choice of Canadian kids at 16%, followed by swimming, hockey, and basketball. In the U.S., youth hockey participation has grown slowly to nearly 400,000 registered players, surpassing Canada in 2021. I'm Mike Hempen.
Judge rules on abortion issue, and techies upset with Google. Those stories and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. A deadly shooting in central Texas during a community Juneteenth celebration. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
Round Rock was hosting its Juneteenth celebration at Old Settlers Park, located at 1371 Harrells Parkway. At approximately 10:50 p.m., an altercation broke out between two groups. During that altercation, someone produced a gun and began to fire. Multiple victims were hit.
2 people were killed in Round Rock, Texas, when shots rang out in a city park where a Juneteenth celebration and concert were taking place.
Then when you have it marred by senseless tragedy as such that happened at Old Settlers Park, it just breaks your heart.
Round Rock, Texas Police Chief Alan Banks says 2 people are dead, innocent bystanders caught in a shooting after 2 groups started to fight.
It breaks your heart for a family that was coming out to enjoy their evening, and now their life is forever changed as a result of somebody who could care less about somebody else's life. And that's so disappointing.
On KVUE-TV, he says many people were also hurt.
Old Settlers Park is an open field with a stage. The shooting did not occur near the stage. It occurred near the vendor area, away from the stage. The 2 victims, I can tell you, were not part of the altercation.
There was a large turnout for this Juneteenth event about 20 miles north of Austin, which was ruined by violence.
And that's so disappointing. Our goal is to put those folks behind bars, and our goal is to get them put away for life.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Judge dismisses a lawsuit challenging federal rules to accommodate abortions for workers. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer explains.
A federal judge in Arkansas has ruled that a lawsuit challenging federal rules entitling workers to time off and other accommodations for abortions lacks standing. Republican attorneys generals from 17 states, led by Arkansas and Tennessee, sued the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in April, days after the agency published guidance for employers and workers on how to implement the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. The judge denied the state's request for a nationwide preliminary injunction on the federal rules, which are scheduled to go into effect on Tuesday. Another lawsuit in Louisiana is awaiting a ruling that could still prove a threat to the regulations. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Ukrainian Peace Summit, attended by nearly 24 nations, is yielding mixed results on ways to stop the conflict between Kyiv and the Kremlin. Correspondent Karen Shamas has this.
80 countries have jointly agreed that the territorial integrity of Ukraine must be the basis for any peace agreement to end Russia's 2-year war. The agreement was confirmed in a signed document by some 80 nations at a Swiss conference. On the final day of the 2-day conference, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was confident that the peace effort would continue.
We already have countries who indicated their interest to host the second peace summit, and we started talks with them.
However, despite attending, some key developing nations did not sign the summit's communique. India, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Thailand and the UAE, which were represented by foreign ministers or lower-level envoys, were among those that did not sign the final document. The document focused on issues of nuclear safety, food security and the exchange of prisoners. I'm Karen Shamas.
Tech watchdog groups have asked the Justice Department to look into Google for an alleged unfair advantage by installing YouTube automatically on smartphones and TVs sold in the U.S. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
Last week, tech and competition watchdog groups called on the U.S. Department of Justice to probe YouTube, saying that the video streaming platform could enable Google and its parent company Alphabet to dominate the home entertainment industry. The American Economic Liberties Project, Demand Progress, and about 9 other groups have expressed concern that YouTube's growth as a competitor to cable and streaming services gives them an unfair advantage with pre-installation on smartphones and TVs sold in the United States. Google said through a spokesperson that anyone looking for something to watch can see that this space is very competitive. They went on to say that the company goes head-to-head with streaming services like Netflix and Disney+, as well as other platforms in Meta and Instagram's TikTok. Alphabet reported that YouTube is up over 21% to $8 billion from last year. Nielsen Analytics has confirmed that YouTube is the top streaming service for over a year. Tell us what you think at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Monday Sports on America in the Morning. Here's our Robert Workman.
Bryson DeChambeau edged out Rory McIlroy by 1 stroke to win the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. McIlroy was up by 2 with 5 to play, but missed 2 short putts over the last 3 holes, while DeChambeau chipped out of a bunker at 18 to within 4 feet of the cup. His par putt gave him his second major win. For McIlroy, his 10-year major drought continues heading into next month's Open Championship at Royal Troon. Baseball Sunday, the Mariners completed their sweep of the Rangers 5-0. Logan Gilbert allowed 2 hits and fanned 9 over 8 innings. Seattle's lead in the AL West is now 8.5 games. Dodgers shut out the Royals 3-0. Tyler Glasnow and ends with a 3-hitter. Shohei Ohtani belted 2 homers, but LA shortstop Mookie Betts took a pitch off his left hand and could miss a month. A bad break for manager Dave Roberts.
I feel bad, really bad for Mookie. You know, he was obviously having an MVP type season. You know, it's very unfortunate.
Astros tamed the Tigers. Ronel Blanco, who threw the season's only no-hitter so far back in April, fired 7 innings without allowing a hit. Orioles smacked 4 jacks to flatten the Phillies. The Twins pounded 7 homers in a doubleheader sweep of the A's. Oakland has dropped 9 straight. Red Sox stole a franchise record 9 bases in their win over the Yankees last night. Giants scored 9 times in the 4th and rolled over the Angels. Diamondbacks used a 6-run 4th to wipe out the White Sox. Wins for the Blue Jays, Rays, Mets, Nationals, Cardinals, Pirates, and Brewers. No sweeps in the NBA or NHL Finals over the weekend, so the Celtics can wrap up their title tonight at home against the Mavericks, and the Panthers can follow suit tomorrow night versus the Oilers. That's Monday Sports.
Thank you, Robert. Streaming services has many paying for what they were shelling out before they cut the cord. A closer look at that and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Inside Out 2 with a far better than expected opening weekend. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports.
This is Joy, coming to you live in Riley's Mind.
The sequel to Inside Out has earned $155 million domestically at the box office, according to studio estimates. No movie has opened with more than $100 million this year, and Inside Out was not expected to crack that.
Hey, Reggie, did you eat my snacks? No, sir. You ate my snacks, didn't you? You need to get a job. I'm a U.S. Marine, sir. Well, then you need to deploy.
Bad Boys Ride or Die had a strong second weekend with $33 million, putting it in second place.
In their time, humans were capable of many
great things. They could fly like eagles fly. They could speak across oceans. But now it is our time.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is third.
Say when. Never, John. Bury me in cheese.
Followed by the Garfield movie and The Watchers. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
You've heard the expression cutting the cord, switching from cable to internet streaming services. But as Kevin Carr tells us, for some, the cost of the stream isn't much better than the cost of cable, and the popular internet services are taking note.
After the price of multiple streaming services canceled out the cost benefit of cutting the cord, studios are bundling services to stop customers from cutting the stream. Disney Plus is a must-have for Star Wars fans. And the new Doctor Who is out there as well. There's also Marvel and classic Disney animation. Disney already bundles with subsidiaries Hulu and ESPN. Soon the Mouse House will offer a bundle with Max. Disney is also planning a sports bundle called Venue Sports, which will consolidate its sports programming with Warner Bros. Discovery and Fox. This yet-to-be-announced price deal should be available in the fall. Netflix continues to be the streaming market leader with big shows like the upcoming Stranger Things Season 5. This is why Comcast will soon offer the Stream Saver, which bundles its Peacock service with Netflix and Apple TV Plus for about $15 a month. The catch is you must already be a Comcast Xfinity TV subscriber. If you prefer a DIY approach, Hulu and Prime already offer add-on services to build your own bundle. And some cell phone carriers offer streaming services as part of their plans, like Netflix or Apple TV Plus on T-Mobile or Max on AT&T. Stay tuned, there's definitely more streaming bundles on the way. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Monday, June 17th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.